We're going to talk about compelling cruise news today, information that you can use when you cruise, whether you're an avid cruiser or someone who's just starting to get interested in the world of cruising. I'm going to do a weekly roundup where we're going to talk about all types of cruise news, but especially what I find to be of major interest. We're going to talk about unusual stories. We're going to talk about exciting stories. We're going to talk about stories a little bit on the edge that might make you stop and think about what can happen when you cruise. We'll talk about things that are new. We're going to talk about new cruise ships. We're going to talk about new routes. So for this first episode of my compelling cruise news, we're going to talk about 4 things. First of all, we're going to talk about the new details that Carnival has just released on the Carnival Jubilee. We're going to talk about some changes to included food on the Carnival Mardi Gras. We're going to talk about an unfortunate cancellation at the very last minute for a Cunard cruise ship. And we're going to talk about 2 recent deaths on cruise ships that have made the news. So thank you for joining me. You're watching Cruising with Dee. The Carnival Jubilee has announced that they're going to have an overall ocean theme for the ship. It's going to be an immersive ocean experience, and they've announced 2 new zones that will carry through this overall theme. The new zones are Currents on Deck 6 and 7 and the Shores on Deck 8. Currents on Deck 6 and 7 will have a below the ocean theme. It's going to make you feel like you are under the sea. They're going to use LED lights and innovative technology. The area is going to have lighting that changes from day to night. LED windows, they'll give you under the ocean views, as well as an LED ceiling that will make you feel that indeed you are under the sea. One new venue in this area is going to be called Drinks, but it's DR with an INKS for Inks, and it is going to be themed around a studious octopus with drinks that will carry through this theme, as well as I guess the octopus has journals and things. It's a fascinating theme, so I can't wait to see what Carnival does with this. And another bar is going to be the Golden Mermaid, and it's going to have drinks that have a theme of precious metals and gemstones, including edible glitter in some of the drinks. There'll be live music. I think this one sounds like it's going to be in the brass magnolia type area, but we will have to see. This Currents area will have some of your old favorites returning from the Mardi Gras and the celebration, such as Emerald's. It will be Emerald's Bistro 717 on this ship, and it's going to have an expanded raw bar. You'll have the Alchemy, of course, everyone's favorite bar, or at least my favorite bar. And you'll have the main dining room, which is going to be called the Atlantic on this ship. Deck 8 is going to be called the Shores, and it's going to have a theme that is based on the seashore, being on a pier, on a boardwalk, how people enjoy where the ocean meets the shore. A 3-deck high art installation of a school of fish going from deck 6 to 8. The Carnival Pizzeria will be called Coastal Slice, and then the deli here is going to be Beach Buns, which will have hot dogs as well as sandwiches. It should be really exciting and to see how this ship is shaping up. I can't wait. I'll be on it next March. Also, the other 4 zones will remain the same as they are on the Mardi Gras on this celebration, and that includes your Lido, your Ultimate Playground, which will have the 3rd roller coaster at sea, Summer Landing, and Grand Central. And now for some news on the Carnival Mardi Gras. As many of you know, since the inception of the Carnival Mardi Gras, people have been able to dine for free in Shebang, which is an Asian Mexican fusion restaurant, as well as in Cunard del Capitano, which is unusual, as usually Asian Gigi's is an upcharge on most of the other ships, as is Cunard del Capitano. And they said for the inaugural season that those 2 restaurants would remain free, and they have also been free on the Carnival celebration. However, Carnival has decided to do a test. So Shebang will be free for your first visit when you are on a cruise. However, the second visit and third, fourth, you can eat there as many times as you want, will be an $8 charge. I think this is a test because Shebang tends to be one of their more crowded of the restaurant venues. It's been very popular. And I just hope this isn't the first of many additional charges to come on some of the free venues. This doesn't seem to affect the way I cruise because there are so many options to eat free on the Mardi Gras. I will eat at Shebang once per trip on the XL class ships. I don't know how many other people it will affect, but I would love to hear in the comments, does this upset you? Maybe like me, you're just like, oh, they're starting to charge. One of the major benefits to me of sailing on the XL ships has been all of the included food choices. So I hope that this isn't going to change and that this is like the first of charges to come. Before we get started on the last couple of stories, please, if you're enjoying this content, give us a like and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you've got notifications turned on. We've got lots of great content on cruising to come. This next story is about our last-minute cancellation of the Cunard ship. So the Queen Mary 2 was scheduled to do a transatlantic on this Sunday, the 23rd, which was canceled at the very last minute, the morning of the cruise, when many people were en route to Southampton, where the cruise was leaving from. People got to the ship and they hadn't even had notice yet. It was extremely last minute. But evidently, the ship had some technical issues, engine problems that they thought they were going to be able to fix quickly, but they weren't. And of course, you do not want to take off on a transatlantic if you have an engine problem. So Cunard had no choice. They had to cancel the sailing. Left a lot of people in lurch. A lot of people were using that to come back to the US after some longer cruises, including a world cruise. So it left a lot of people in a bad way. So far, what I've heard is that Cunard has offered, of course, all the money back for the cruise and a 20% future cruise credit. However, many people have additional costs associated with this cancellation. They have to get last-minute plane reservations to get themselves back to the United States from Southampton. They have hotel nights. A lot of complications have come by because of this cancellation. So I hope that Cunard will be working with people in order to pay some of these additional costs that were incurred due to the timing of the cancellation. But it's a very good reminder for everyone to have insurance. I don't know in the instance how much insurance would cost. You'd have to look at the fine print of your particular policy. It's also a good reminder that you have to be ready and anything can happen with the cruise. And you just have to be ready, whether with extra money on your credit cards, a travel agent, some knowledgeable way that when things change on a dime, that you as a cruise passenger can deal with the sudden changes. And we all saw that, of course, with all of the changes that happened for those first cruises that were affected by the pandemic. And finally, I want to talk about two recent deaths of passengers on cruise ships that have made the news. The first of these stories actually happened in August on the Celebrity Equinox, where a woman's husband passed away on the ship. And she is now suing because she alleges in the lawsuit that Celebrity kept her husband's body improperly stored in a beverage cooler instead of properly stored on the morgue on the ship. Again, these are allegations. We don't have Celebrity's side of the story, but this is what is alleged in the lawsuit. The woman was given the ability to debark from the ship in San Juan or spend 6 days on the ship and then have her husband's body debarked with her once it got back to Fort Lauderdale, where the cruise originated. This was a cruise from Fort Lauderdale to the Eastern Caribbean. So it's a difficult situation, something to talk about though, because no one likes to talk about a death happening on a cruise ship or on a vacation. But unfortunately, these things happen. You're on a cruise ship with thousands of people. It's like being in a small city, and it's just a fact of life. I actually have a family member that passed away just after a cruise to the Antarctica. So it's something that's been on my mind, maybe not something that you think about. Again, it's a good reason to have insurance. Check your insurance policies if medical evacuation includes getting a body repatriated, but it can happen. Now, I do hope that Celebrity did have their morgue in good working order. I think that this is a good reminder to cruise ships that it's important. All cruise ships are required to have a morgue, and that is simply a fact of cruising life. Don't have the full story on this, but the allegations are something that should make you think anything can happen when you're on a cruise, especially given that the age of lots of cruisers is on the older side, because after all, we are the people that are either retired or close to retirement and have more time on our hands. So many older people, like myself, do tend to cruise a lot more often than younger populations. And obviously, chances of something happening when you're older are a lot greater. But it doesn't mean that things can't happen to you on a cruise ship when you're younger. And our next story actually deals with the death of a younger man. He was on a Carnival Sunrise cruise and was in Jamaica. And he was on a cruise ship excursion to the Blue Hole in Ocorios. He's jumping in the waterfall, and unfortunately, he passed away. What exactly happened? Did he have a heart attack? Did he just get in over his head? But he did drown on that excursion, and he was only 32 years old. So very sad story. I am someone who is very aware that things can go awry. I broke my ankle last year on a cruise ship when in Colombia, right before going through the Panama Canal, and I had to get emergency surgery. So just be careful. Try not to do things that are over your ability when you are looking at excursions. Take seriously the difficulty. If you're not really fit, you need to be a little bit careful. But I don't know what happened to this man. It could have just been a terrible accident, but it's very sad. And again, it's just something that you need to think about. So those are my compelling cruise news stories for this week. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the Jubilee. Just a little information, if you're going on the Mardi Gras and you love shebang, that you will have to be paying $8 for additional visits there after your first. And looking at the Cunard situation, that's a great reminder for all of us to be prepared for changes in plans at the last minute, because you never know. And then looking at the 2 cruise deaths, just again, something to have in the back of your head, to always have insurance, a contingency plan, and to realize that cruise ship life is real life and all sorts of things can happen. So thank you for joining me. You've been Cruising with Dee.